Okay, so I know now that the off season has started for most of you with softball, being off from softball and volleyball, I've had multiple of you say, all right, coach, we want to work on our abs. We want abs. I get it. Everyone wants abs. But as an athlete, our approach has to be a little bit different. Quite honestly, those that have the V-shaped bodybuilding looking abs don't have real functional athletic abs. So down the road, when you're done with your athletic career, we will pursue that. Right now, what I need you to have is a very functional, movement oriented, trunk stiffness, creating rotation type of ab structure. We can still have six pack, we can still have a nice looking abdomen. We're just not aspiring for that V shaped cut. We want more of like a barrel shape, with the ability to create pressure and bracing through our core. So all the time I get messages, hey, we want a lot of rotational ab exercises because we think we play a rotational sport. We should be working a lot of rotation. The approach to that should actually be backwards. You have to be able to resist rotation before we can add rotation. Kind of like we talked about before with the back squat. If we have a C shape in our back, we don't have a lot of stiffness and a lot of power to rotate from. If we can get our ribs lined up over our hips and be able to maintain a brace, outward pressure, and resistance against the outward pressure, we can now create stiffness and power. The best way I've heard it described is, do we want to shoot a cannon off a hard surface, or do we want to shoot a cannon out of a canoe? So if my core is the structure we're looking at, if I have a C in my back and I have an inability to create stiffness, then I'm pitching with my arm as the cannon out of a canoe, a really unstable surface that my shoulder can't gain momentum from. But if I get my core aligned and I am bracing outward and tightening down against that outward brace, now I have a hard surface that I can whip my arm through. But if we have a lot of moving parts while we're trying to move our core, we don't have a good solid structure to throw from. So we have to learn how to create stiffness and maintain stiffness to allow our joints to move freely before we can do a lot of cool rotational stuff. So a couple of the exercises we're going to do today is Paloff series. I know you guys are tired of these, but they're some of my favorite. You're going to go arms straight out to the front, push your knuckles away from you as far as you can. We're going to get in a semi-squat, practicing keeping a neutral spine, outward brace against the abdominal wall. We're going to take a side step and side step back. You're going to do 5 of these. You can't bend the elbows. You can't shrug the shoulders. Push the knuckles away from you as far as you can. You should feel a nice stiffness through the abdominal wall. Then after you've done 5 of those, then you're going to get in that squat position again. Push your knuckles away from you as far as you can, and you're going to do a gentle rotation through the upper body. Notice that my bottom half is not moving. I'm trying to create separation through abdominal stiffness. So I'm not pulling very far, I'm not bending my elbows, and I'm not rotating my hips. This should not be a very violent movement. It should be short and very sweet through that range of motion. Then the last one you're going to do is you're going to stay in your squat. You're going to hold your arms out front here, and now you're going to rotate your lower half. So my abdominal wall is staying tight, braced outward. My arms are pushed ahead, and I'm rotating through the lower half of my core. And again, you should feel abdominal pull from here. Once you finish 3 sets of 5 each direction then we're going to work on some farmer's carry walking. So I want to keep my shoulders square across. I don't want to lean to one side, and I don't want to shrug. I want to keep my shoulders square, using the opposite obliques to hold this dumbbell up. So I want to pinch my rib cage to this hip bone, and you're going to march in place, keeping your shoulders relaxed, stacked ribs over hips. You're going to march in place 20 steps, holding this kettlebell. Then you're going to switch to the other side. Again, use a mirror if you need to. Keep your shoulders stacked. Don't lean, don't shrug. Use your opposite obliques. Poke your fingers in. This should be solid and hard on this side. You're going to do 20 steps. And you're going to work through this series 3 times. So again, we're not doing any rotational stuff these first few weeks. We're doing anti-rotational. You've got to create core stability first before we can add a lot of cool, crazy stuff outward from there. Any questions?